After a fast and furious start to free agency, lots of shuffling within the NFC West. How does the division stack up after a flurry of the moves? Where are the Cardinals now, Johnny Venerable?
Yeah, and Monty Ford, he finally signed a veteran cornerback, but still work to be done in the Arizona Cardinals secondary. Where is the big move? Is it coming? PHNX Cardinals starts now. Hey, welcome in. Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. Wow. Contrary to popular belief, we are not live for 24 hours. You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Brack in Studio K. Damon, Dawg, producer extraordinaire behind the mic. How we living, fellas?
We're living well. And, you're talking about a 24-hour stream. I may or may not have dropped maybe an empty promise earlier today about what would it take to get this humble podcast to do a 24-hour stream. Maybe we'll reveal that. But one thing I am going to be truthful about is today's show. Okay. It's special. It's a big one, right? And I see over about 150 people already here in the chat. Give a fine hello to Ozzy K2. I see you, Shaft. How about Jeremy? Jeremy gets it. Yeah, like this video already. The entire squad here. Brian P, Merv, I see you. DeJakey, like that username. Rafa, squad is here. Austin, Kyle. I don't want to miss anybody, but I always do, Geek, when you get this high of a number early on. John, Akana, the squad. They're all here, ready to talk some ball. Been a busy week and a half, nearly 2 weeks here as far as NFC Westland goes.
K2 says it all with this comment. This pod is special because we are here. There, I said it. Well, K2, you're special to this podcast. We appreciate you, my guy or gal. Everybody's special here. It's great to see all the regulars. It's great to see new friends here. The PHNX Sports, PHNX Cardinals community. It's great to see new faces enter the Arizona Cardinals locker room. But what about the rest of, the NFC West? I think we can all say with full conviction that the San Francisco 49ers have had a nightmarish offseason, right? They are resetting, yet they are still the favorite on a lot of sports books, including our friends at Bet365, to win the division, which is wild. I'm going to live in reality and say that that's not going to happen. But we're opening up the conversation now, Bo. Where do you believe the Cardinals have asserted themselves after their marquee additions of Dalvin Tomlinson and Josh Sweat?
Yeah, we'll get to that. I mean, I think that we need to further this discussion as far as the national media and their unwillingness to break up with the 49ers. Like, the writing's on the wall. It's time to get out. Like, this thing is inevitably going to end poorly. The window is firmly closed shut, and you look at what the Niners have done and what they haven't accomplished this offseason. For them to hang on and continue to put them firmly within the top 20 and overlook what the Cardinals have done, it's a little silly to me. Like, best case scenario for the San Francisco 49ers, they get healthy. They get their guys who are oft injured. Trent Williams, who's pushing 40 about now. You've got Christian McCaffrey, who was only there for a cup of coffee in the 2024 season after he went overseas trying to find a miracle cure for his ailing Achilles. Not exactly a part of your body that you want to kind of have linger there with injuries. So, and he's not getting any younger. So the idea, like, hey, if they get Trent Williams and Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle back on the field, and then Brock Purdy can operate at the same level as he did with a full deck here, 4 aces. I think it's a little naive. I think it's actually really naive. Like, the odds are more unlikely than not that the 49ers reach back to prominence like they were during that window where you got to give credit where it's due. They were very good for a half-decade stretch. That's tough to do in a cap league that could be consistently successful and have one of the rosters that people say and identify as one of the tops in the NFL. Credit to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, but it's over. It's over. And like they're just grasping and trying to keep them in the top 20 because of what they think they know, but is no longer there.
Well, and let's call a spade here. Kyle Shanahan is not immune to disastrous seasons that lead to top 5, top 3 draft picks. I mean, those years where Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt and, they were bouncing around from those veteran quarterbacks or those, the kid from Iowa that they took out of the 3rd round, some undrafted guys. It was embarrassing. And I mean, famously, the Cardinals, when they picked 1st overall, Niners were right behind them. Right. They took Nick Bosa. Like, Kyle Shanahan's not immune from disastrous seasons, whereas on the flip side, like the worst year for Sean McVay is 7-10, 8-9, theoretically. Like he is immune, right? And so that's where we have to start. And I do think San Francisco, I think they have a ceiling because of Shanahan of about 9 or 10 wins, but I think their floor is 4-12 or 4-13, 5-12. To me, you hit the nail on the head. Bosa, injury prone, old, expensive. Trent Williams, right? Christian McCaffrey. No one can assure us that guy's healthy. And then you've got a quarterback who's extremely limited, who is carried by what I think that Niner team from 2 years ago, up and down, had the best roster of the last decade in the NFL. Top to bottom, defensive backs, linebackers, playmakers offensively. I mean, we'll never see a trio or a trio of receivers and Kittle, Debo, and Ayuk coupled with McCaffrey could have won MVP. Like that's over. It's dead and buried now. Yeah. So I think San Francisco will have their moments. I think they're going to cap off at about 7 wins next year, though, especially in this division. I don't care.
That's fine. Look, that's fine. I mean, this is a division that gets to match up against the terrible AFC South, NFC South. You can stack wins. Like in the Niners, despite them being down relative to their division, they're still going to be able to take on, the bottom feeders of the conference and of the AFC as well. And, they can get to 7 and that's all well and good. Cardinals need to continue to take care of business while they're down. Right. And, as you alluded already to the Rams, like that's the big issue here. And we'll get into the Seahawks. But as far as the Cardinals are going, I think that they've done a good job in taking care of their own business. As far as their roster building, the direction of their team, nobody's really been big game hunting as far as this division, as far as big blockbuster trades. But the Cardinals have done a good job in what was available this offseason in addressing their biggest need and continue will do that in the draft. You add Dalvin Tomlinson, I think that was really kind of the move that fortified that this was an offseason that was going to put them in a position to not only do what they did last year and then push them past that point to get to where they need to go to really kind of go neck and neck with the Rams to continue to kind of push down what an inferior, roster is turning into as far as San Francisco and maybe take advantage of a team that's undergoing a facelift in Seattle. Like, can the Cardinals legitimately put themselves in the conversation as a top 2 team in this league, in this division, I should say, not this league, but in this division? And I know, like, am I getting ahead of myself? Am I 2 steps too far? Possibly. But, with a good draft and obviously the development of key players, that's going to put the Cardinals on the right trajectory. But a lot still has to go right. But you have to look at this, the erosion of this division and its inability to kind of get back on track after a weird season is opportunity for the Cardinals.
I think the expectation has to be jumping Seattle. I don't think either of us can sit here and say we expect the Cardinals to overtake the LA Rams and their dominance under McVay and how innovative he's been on both sides of the ball, frankly. Like they're going to have what many assume to be the top defense in the NFL next year. I think Seattle, when you look at how dramatic their shift has gone offensively, a lot of people forget. Cardinals finished 8-9. Seattle Seahawks finished 10-7, right? They won 10 games again last year. They swept the Cardinals. If the Cardinals beat the Seahawks in one of those 2 games, they have an identical record, and the Cardinals have the more superior record in the NFC West, and they finish ahead of Seattle. They're the second place team. If they just win one more time against the Seahawks. I'm going to tell you right now, like for Jonathan Gannon, and he would tell you this on or off air, you have to beat Seattle this year. You're 0-4 against Seattle. Now, you could have easily swept the Rams this year. You swept the 49ers. You have been non-competitive against the Seahawks at times. 2 years ago, I mean, that game against Geno Smith, Cardinal killer is out of the division now. So whatever dramatic changes you have to make, and we're seeing them right now, to fortify your line of scrimmage so you can compete with that team, you need to do so. At the very least, you have to beat them at home this year. I'm not saying you have to sweep them. I think you're looking at another scenario. Like you could conceivably make the playoffs by having the same division record as last year, 3-3, right? But what was the Cardinals' problem last year? Outside of the NFC West, couldn't beat good teams. Washington, Green Bay, Minnesota Vikings, right? Detroit Lions, Buffalo Bills. Well, you're not facing those teams again. So I think it's conceivable. Finish second in the division, minimum, 3-3, 4-2 in the NFC West because of the teams you mentioned, NFC South, AFC South. You're looking at a team that, again, I expect this team to win 10 games this year. Let's see what they do in the draft. That number could go up or down, but injuries play a factor in that. You can't be getting swept by Sam Darnold and a new look offense and Cooper Kupp with no DK Metcalf. You can't let Mike McDonald, whatever the hell his name is, come into the division and beat you four straight times. Like I'm not saying it's a fireable offense, but just to be taken seriously, you just can't have that happen. So while I would love for this team aspirations to win the NFC West, I think you have to have barometers every year. And the trouble spot is you were a very competitive team last year. The second place team in your division swept you and won 10 games. That's the next bar you have to check off.
Yeah, it was kind of a unlikely hurdle. Nobody was expecting. Nobody was expecting Mike McDonald to come in here, especially when the team was 6-4 and you had like everything at your fingertips as far as your ability to take control of this division. And there was McDonald and Geno Smith in this defense that was able to just completely crush your hopes and dreams, right? That just derailed you from getting to where you wanted to go last season. And it's going to be important for the Cardinals to really kind of slay that. I feel wrong even calling Mike McDonald a dragon. Like he's not a dragon. He shouldn't be. Like I know he's a good defensive mind. Like that, depending on where those games fall, and sometimes, I mean, most of the time they'll put them at the important part of the season, these division games. But sometimes you'll get them early in the season. You're probably going to want to get at Seattle early, like as they try to figure out this offense, because it is a complete brand new offense. You got a new play caller in Clint Kubiak, and I know there's a relationship there with Sam Darnold, but he has, as far as his playmakers are concerned, he's got JSN and a really kind of washed Cooper Kupp who plays the same position, runs the same route tree. And who else do they have? MVS? Is that it? They added Scantling, Valdez Scantling. So like that's going to be a work in progress for a little bit. With Sammy Darnold up there. And it's going to be a little bit for him to kind of hit the ground and find his way as far as running that offense. It's not going to be as easy as it was with Kevin O'Connell, an offensive guy that put him in place for success all the way through 2024.
I mean, Zach Charbonnet in a game in which their top Kenneth Walker did not play. Zach Charbonnet went for 134. Against the Cardinal defense.
Gross.
6 yards per clip, 2 touchdowns, including a 51-yarder. Was that game, they lost 30-18 back on, I think it was in November. Try to put that out of my memory here, but Kyler Murray, worst game of the year probably. 2 interceptions, back-to-back drives, but your defense was atrocious that game. I mean, Seattle has just everything the Cardinals want to be. Team that doesn't turn the ball over, that can run the football, that gets some explosives, right? And is a defensive stout up front. The Seahawks are a better version of what the Cardinals aspire to be, at least right now. Now, the difference is the Seahawks never had down years with Pete Carroll. They had a consistent, steady streamline. They didn't have Steve Keim poisoning their franchise every April. Schneider knows what he's doing. So they've never missed in that sense. They went from Legion of Boom to the Geno Smith era, and they're consistently, look at it, 9-10 wins every single year. I mean, they pivoted off Pete Carroll. He won 9 games in his last year. So you've been up against the 8 ball against them, and I get that. Time's up, though. This is your count at third offseason to add talent. And people, why, we're coming on this show every March. A lot of people on the Twitter streets like, well, the Cardinals aren't going to be aggressive. Well, you have to be aggressive. To catch up with a team like this, you have to do that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Looking at the Seahawks, one thing I will kind of come, not to the defense of the Cardinals, but go up against kind of the Seahawks where, as far as their strength of schedule, there was a run there where they got some bunnies early on.
Well, that's why I thought the Cardinals were going to work them.
Right. And I understand, like, they should have, like, most of the good teams that they played, they lost. Like, they took advantage of, they lost to the Niners team, but they were able to beat them late in the season. But they, there was some bad wins in there that they were able to kind of get through there. They got to play the Giants last year. But you shouldn't be able to. The Cardinals were their own worst enemy last year.
Yeah.
But when I was looking at Pro Football Focus, they ranked where they felt like the NFC, where the division, how they graded out in the first wave of free agency. And the Seahawks got a B-. They were third in the division. The 49ers rightfully got a D.
Nice.
Like, I don't know how they wasn't a failing grade with the mass exodus and
Shanny
and the lack of talent that, came into Santa Clara. I mean, let's look at the biggest, there we go. The NFC West offseason grades. Cardinals got a B. That team that just won't go away, those pesky Rams, A-. And you have to give credit where it's due. Like Devontae Adams replacing Cooper Kupp, and then Poona Ford on that defensive line that was already stout with a bunch of youth. You had a vet like Poona Ford. Like, that's a good move. And the Rams got stronger after a divisional round appearance against the Philadelphia Eagles. So you can't deny that.
They just do everything right, Damon. Yeah. And it just I listened to, I don't love like Jason and Travis Kelce's podcast, but something came across my algorithm and it was like, Jason Kelce, who was the hardest defensive lineman for you to face in your career? And obviously it was Aaron Donald. And then they're like, give us an under the radar name. And he said Poona Ford. And I'm like, where's Poona Ford at? Gosh darn, what the hell's going on here? So they just, Sean McVay, we need him to go work for Amazon. Stafford, we need him to hang it up. But Sean McVay is just an elite football mind beyond just a coach. Like, Les Snead was trash with Jeff Fisher, that he was going to get fired. It's all Sean McVay. We need Sean McVay up out of here, and they can win so many different ways. So we're not going to be naive and come on this show and be like, Cardinals are better than Kyler Murray's not better than Matthew Stafford. Like, we're not going to come on here and say that. But is there an avenue where the Cardinals were one play also from sweeping the Rams last year?
Yeah, they were. It was just one of the more inexplicable finishes of the season, even though, it was a less than a week removed from their season ending, and their playoff chances were done previous Sunday when they played that Saturday night. Let's look at the biggest moves made by the NFC West teams. This is going to make you kind of giggle because we've got the Cardinals, Josh Sweat up here filling their biggest need, Johnny, at edge. They were in the Milton already. Yeah, they were in the Milton Williams sweepstakes. They fell short, but they got Josh Sweat there and the Devontae Adams and Poona Ford. Like, we'll give credit to them. I see it. It's not that big a deal. The fact remains he's still in your division. It's a good thing. And then you got Sam Darnold, of course, replacing Geno Smith. And, is that even with maybe a little bit more upside after Darnold's year? Absolutely. And then, of course, the Niners. Their big move, Johnny, Mac McCorkle-Jones, making his way from Jacksonville, finally gets it done. Kyle Shanahan finally gets his man, right? Remember all those reports leading up to the 2020 draft? Was it the 2021 draft?
Yeah.
And he wanted the reports where he wanted Mac Jones, and they ended up going with Trey Lance, and both have equally been a disaster in their own right. But that's the big move for the Niners, and national media members will continue to slobber all over them, even though there hasn't been any talent coming into that organization after the end of a last place finish.
I should have spelled out McCorkle on this graphic. That was a miss on my part.
It's all right. Just having Mac Jones next to your team name where it says biggest under a graphic that has their big moves, like, that's an insult in itself. The biggest insult.
I'm going to tell you right now, though, Here's one thing that Mac Jones does well. He gets his number one receiver the ball. So maybe Drew Petzing and Kyler Murray should take note. Did you see Mac Jones feed Brian Thomas Jr. the football last year? Like what I see out of Mac Jones. In all seriousness, though, you are starting to see the repercussions of one of the worst, if not the worst, draft trade in NFL history, trading up for bust Trey Lance at number 3. Like, you weren't going to, the roster was too loaded, right? I understood the move at the time. Fast forward now 4 off seasons later, the Niners roster looks like it does. They don't have any young talent because they traded away multiple first-round picks and a third to go up and get Trey Lance, who he cannot play. He can't play at the NFL level. So I don't care how great of a value they got in Brock Purdy as in 7th round. You can't overcome that. Like Brock Purdy, we have seen the best from him already. It's not going to get better than what we've seen.
Like Pooney, who they hit in day 2, interior offensive line, like he's going to be he's a starting guard. Like he's not going to be the best guard in the league. Mustafa is a good safety. You like him, but the rest of that roster, like they lost their top corner. He's gone.
Yep.
Shadarius Ward, he ended up in Indy, right?
Yep.
And then you've got, Fred Warner is going to be another year older. Nick Bosa is oft injured. And he's another year older. Things aren't good in Ninerland, and you have to love it.
Well, and like the Niners are well coached enough. They'll probably beat Seattle once. Like the good thing about it is they're just not going to like roll over it and be awful. I don't think. And that's what we need from them, right? To keep this thing, like we can't have the Seahawks and the Rams go unbeaten with San Francisco and then just roll over. And then the Cardinals are like, well, now we really have to, crank it up. But I think the Cardinals match up very well with the 49ers all of a sudden. Limitation at quarterback, limitation on both lines of scrimmage. I think they're very, very similar to what we saw with Chicago Bears last year, with a quarterback who wants to turn the football over. What hurts you about Stafford and what was Geno Smith is they didn't beat themselves, right? Geno Smith felt like rarely ever outside that Garrett Williams interception, like beat himself. Had the Seahawks in a bad spot, and then Kyler Murray went and did the opposite. And that's why you lost those games. So you're right there. You are right there. Regardless of what Vegas is going to put out, and I love Vegas and ESPN and their BS rankings, the Cardinals are firmly in position to win double-digit games and let the chips fall where they may. Did they get better today, Bo, with the addition of a veteran cornerback? Maybe not of note. We're going to talk about that more. It's PHNX Cardinals. Drop a like.
I'm pumped up, Johnny. It's Thursday. It's almost Friday, which means my wife, my son, and I, we will make sure we're logging on to SpanatosPizzeria.com, making an order, getting our za headed to our house. Yeah, delivered hot and fresh from our friends over at Spanatos, who are, of course, the best place to be Suns fan. And like now it's a little bit better to be a Suns fan. Spanatos is always making it better to be a Suns fan. The official watch parties throughout the season, you can watch the game with the Suns dancers and the gorilla. That's fantastic. Stop by for your chance to win free Suns tickets and participate for gift certificates and more exciting prizes. If you have a decent jump shot, you got to enter the Spanatos Pizza competition. It's like horse, but it's Pizza pizza. You can win pizza for a year and tickets to a Suns game on April 9th. That's coming up. Who doesn't love tickets and free pizza? Feel the energy, cheer for your team, win big. Don't miss out on your chance to be a part of the action. Mark your calendars. Go to checkout SpanatosPizzeria.com for more details and to order your amazing pizza.
I love checking Spanatos out in person, and I love getting there with our friends at Waymo. Waymo, a fully autonomous ride-hailing service, consists of entirely all electronic. How about this? Jaguar's I-Pace vehicles. Hello, providing a consistent zero-emission experience for their riders, for me, for you, for everybody. 150,000 trips per week. This is the big time, folks. This is not a flash in the pan. I see Waymo's anywhere and everywhere, especially in downtown Phoenix, across San Francisco, Los Angeles, and now here in our hometown. Waymo was the first company to serve a fully autonomous ride with no human being behind the wheel since 2015. They've got 40 million miles of real-world driving experience. That's enough to travel to the moon and back 80 times. All you got to do to sign up right now, download the Waymo app today. And again, get in on the action. I'm telling you right now, you go Waymo, you'll never go away from our friends at Waymo.
Ooh, I like that. Download, request, ride, Waymo One app. Love it. Also, as we return here, the PHNX Green Jacket Open Scramble going on April 12th. Johnny, how's your swing doing?
Not great. Not great. Yeah. I'm a fan of the golf game. I'm a fan of hanging out, having some drinks. I'm certainly a fan of our friends at Dobson Ranch. So if you like to just eat and drink and maybe hit some balls off the range and just screw around in a golf cart, I'm your guy.
There you go. Range balls prior to the round. This is what your entry fee includes. 18 holes with a cart. Games throughout the event. Raffle and tournament prizes. PHNX t-shirt gifts. Pre-tournament Masters watch party. Because, of course, hello, friends. Yes, hello, friends. It is the Masters. And food after the round party at Dobson Ranch. Maybe, should we just broadcast live from there? I think we should. We should figure out if we can do that on that. Oh, that's a Saturday. Never mind. We're just gonna continue the festivities after the round. So can't wait to do that. Check it out. It's of course the PHNX Green Jacket Open Scramble. Go PHNX.com for more info.
I'm scrambling to sign up right now. Speaking of signing up, we got word before the show today. Should have full details on a certain draft party. Mañana. Mark the calendars. Get your signups ready to go. Draft details conservatively coming out on tomorrow's show. How about that?
You kind of inquired about that, and some suits here at PHNX were like, well, we're trying to cross all the T's and dot all the I's. And old GM Espo was like, we're going to announce tomorrow.
Well,
it was a power move, and I liked it.
And I inquire because I want it out there, but it's the peeps got 600 watching. It's the people inquiring like, hey, I'm trying to plan my draft weekend. I want PHNX Cardinals in front of the line, as you should. And there were people last year. I mean, we went over capacity. We extended it. And there were still some people who weren't able to get tickets, which we felt terrible about. So this year we're trying to give everybody just the fullest of notices for this little fanboy podcast.
Yeah. So when it's announced and when tickets are available, get in as fast as possible.
Yep. They won't stick around. Whammy. No. You want to hang with your boys of PHNX Cardinals when pick 16 rolls around.
Don't say that, Ozzy. Don't say that. Imagine the pick is Gray Zabel. Don't put that energy out there.
You want to see that in person. There's only one way to do so.
You want to see a grown man meltdown. You want to see a grown man cry on a microphone in front of a camera, then that's what's going to happen with Johnny Venerable. Damon brought up something interesting yesterday that I think we need to get into action on with all of our friends here in the audience.
Okay.
And on the Bet365 app is the odds for the Arizona Cardinals to get a defensive line player, Damon, you noticed was about 125 plus 125 on some betting sites out there. I got to imagine we need to hammer that. Like we need to just grow a pot or get a pot going and then just drop some serious coin on the Cardinals taking, an edge or a defensive lineman.
Does that cover both positions?
I believe so.
It does, Johnny. They in fact combine interior defensive line and edge rusher as one position on this draft bet. I think I've never been more convinced a bet is going to hit in my entire life.
I mean, yeah, you'd have to build in some concern for the offensive line.
Corner scares me more than anything.
Corner as well. Like if Will Johnson falls, and they love Will Johnson, why are you shaking your head?
This is off to a bad start.
Or Barron.
I just don't like this. Like we need all like just kind of class pans.
Okay,
together.
So let's talk about the positions we can remove.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's go through the hierarchy. Quarterback, running back, gone. Tight end, gone. Sorry, Drew. Wide receiver, probably gone, right?
Yes, gone.
They're not taking TMac. Okay. Wide receiver, gone. Safety, gone.
Damon, are you okay with that? Damon and I had a little we were scaring some coworkers today. We kind of had a blowout in Damon's office today about TMac Skatt that we've been going back and forth on. But
I'd say we're healing. I'd say we're in the healing process.
No, I don't want that energy. Let's do it right now. Please recap in all its detail what happened earlier today in your place of work.
Well, our guy, Saul Bookman, texted us today. He didn't like any of the Tedero McMillan slander, at least what he perceived as slander, where I was just telling people, informing people as the reporter that I am, where I just ride the line and I don't like interject my own opinion. It's just fact.
We don't do that here.
TMac is just a less notable draft prospect than Cam Skatt.
There's no question about that. It's not even arguable. He's a much better prospect, but notable. Cam Skatt has become a national star. TMac is
led SportsCenter yesterday. You're right, Johnny. TMac did in fact lead SportsCenter yesterday.
Come on.
Cam Skatt hasn't led SportsCenter since he suited up for Arizona State in the Peach Bowl because he, of course, had a phenomenal game and deserved all of that attention. But TMac is flat out a more popular and notable prospect than Cam Skatt. Zero question about it. To prove it, Johnny, then producer Noah of PHNX Sons calls a friend from Michigan who Bo's like, oh, yeah, let's call somebody then. This guy goes, oh, without a doubt, Tedero McMillan is easily more notable and famous. And then Bo's like, oh, he doesn't count. He doesn't count immediately.
Now, hold on.
Sad.
Let me fill in with the details here.
Amen.
Producer Noah is from the Detroit area, right? And he worked, is it Woodward Sports over there? And they do a very similar operation like we do. They like to have fun and talk some ball. This guy, when he was asked about TMac for Skatt, he said that, of course, he thought McMillan was because he was a guy that was in the Heisman race, which was factually incorrect. And actually, it was the opposite. Cam Skatt finished 5th in the Heisman race. So I disqualified his opinion because it's wrong.
It sounds like it goes to show that more people know about TMac than they do about Cam Skatt, despite Cam Skatt maybe finishing higher in the Heisman race.
This guy who you called, I would never have on this show. I'm sorry.
Why? Because he knows about the wide receiver 1 more than he knows about running back 5.
He doesn't.
Like, what are we talking about, Johnny?
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. Yeah. I'm going to say this with the most amount of respect I can give, knowing that TMac is not coming to this franchise. I would argue he is less relevant than N'Keal Harry coming out.
Insane.
I would argue N'Keal Harry was more notable.
That's insane. That's insane.
TMac.
Wow.
I did not grow up here. My lots of my friends are from the Midwest. My family's from the Midwest. I don't think many of them know of TMac. Every one of them knows about Cam Skatt. Every fan base knows about Cam Skatt.
I think Damon is about to blow his lid. I don't know if you could have come with a more scathing response.
I'd love for you to test that, Johnny. Johnny, I'd love for you to test that.
Don't wait a minute for me to test that.
They all know Cam Skatt. You just say Cam Skatt. They're walking in a grocery store. They see Cam Skatt. They know exactly who that is. They know who that is.
I think of course. Probably
ASU all-time running back.
Can I say something? I think TMac was more notable prior to the ASU's run to the Peach Bowl. Even Cam Skatt on our set said he became a national commodity. I'm paraphrasing, when they made it to the Peach Bowl, so much so that people like Charles Barkley and Adrian Peterson are coming up to shake his hand and speak with him. I love TMac. People would know TMac is a professional athlete when they see him. They would not know who he is though. Cam Skatt is like a notable entity nationally. Now,
Skatt looks like every dude walking around Nebraska.
TMac is going to be much more successful in the NFL. He's going to have a longer career. He's going to make more money. That's why this conversation, it's got a shelf life, but unequivocally right now, because of what happened in the playoffs, because the fact that Cam Skatt is a white running back, he is more notable right now because he's an anomaly, right? TMac is amongst all the great wide receivers that come into the NFL every year. My wife didn't know who Malik Neighbors was, right? Or Brian Thomas Jr. Every year we get those guys like that. Yeah, she doesn't. She does not. She's into Wicked, the musical, but
casual.
Yeah, casual. But
it's takes like this from Big Bird that just flip me out into a new level. TMac isn't fit enough to carry my jock strap. Cam Skatt probably. TMac is on a different stratosphere of football
I
player
could do
than
an
Cam
entire
Skatt.
show on this.
And I like Cam Skatt. I've been pumping him up all offseason. But what are we talking about, guys?
This is very what was the argument outside of St. Elmo's that we got into, or during St. Elmo's that we got into with it was about
I said Arizona's ceiling was 6 wins, and you guys thought that was unbelievable.
That was very
the other one was KD. That was when Johnny was.
You too. We both said he wasn't.
I'm firmly on board.
He's just not a top 10 player in the NBA.
Right. And what you lighting a little fire, by the way. The Suns are 2-0 since you called him a loser. So, little credit where it's due. Nice job, Johnny.
Thank you.
Lit a flame.
He's going after Dan Bickley and your boy, Gambo's in the comments. Bo's blocked, so he can't see those comments. I just feel like you're pointing the arrow at the wrong guy. Come to this show. Kevin Durant. I'd rather have T-Mac than Kevin Durant. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
That's the other thing about T-Mac, that he doesn't help himself in the fact that he is a very reserved personality.
Sure, for sure.
But I think that's kind of special in a wide receiver. You don't see that often. That's what made Marv special. I like that about him as a prospect.
Yeah,
but he doesn't help himself.
There's a sense
really good player.
He's almost too polished to where people like how Skatt's rough around the edges. They can identify with that, right? And then to my point that I made,
Skatt's the underdog guy. He transferred from Sacramento State.
And like Fran Duffy told us at the very beginning of this draft process, all 32 fan bases want Cam Skatt, where I think T-Mac is in a certain sweet spot to where a dozen max teams can envision him wearing their uniform. Like they're counting themselves out.
8 picks 8 to 24, whatever it may be.
Yeah. I just think with that, though, that it's like if T-Mac was a 4th round pick, now every team wants T-Mac. Like if that's the game we're playing.
Damon, you're upset at Bo and I understand where your anger is coming from. You're directing your anger at the wrong person, though. Why is T-Mac less relevant than Cam Skatt? Brett Brennan. Brett Brennan should have been fired. He wasted T-Mac this year. That was an embarrassing season for U of A. If I was T-Mac, I would be furious. As a once upon a time top 10 lock, where people were saying T-Mac would have competed with Marv to be a top receiver last year. Say what you want to say. In hindsight, though, Brett Brennan really hurt T-Mac on and off the field. That's where your anger is misdirected at Bo and I think. Could you imagine what Kenny Dillingham would have done with T-Mac?
And that's fine, Johnny. That's fine. Well, I mean, to be fair, Kenny Dillingham has never had a receiver that's put up anything like T-Mac put up stat-wise last season. But
some are saying he does more with less sometimes.
I mean, McMillan had a good season despite Brett Brennan, right?
He had a phenomenal season.
He was on a bad team, so nobody saw. Wow, that was riveting stuff.
It was 100 times spicier if you were live in PHNX headquarters for the original battle. Yelling, screaming.
Can I ask you, Damon? Like, why does that matter? Like notoriety right now? Because you've got the blue chipper that's going to have probably a much better NFL career.
I'll tell you, and it's I said it a couple days ago on the show, and I said it a little bit tongue in cheek, but there's some seriousness aspect to it. At PHNX, obviously we're in Phoenix. We definitely skew a lot more towards ASU, especially recently, given the fact that they had such a big run in football last year. I don't think that we are giving equal opportunity to the beat that I host and am a part of. And we have a generational draft prospect in the midst. And it's like he doesn't even exist.
Generational.
Because this cute little 3rd, 4th round running back we have is going to get drafted. So we got to create all the airtime for him. It's just that's all I'm saying. I by the way, like Cam Skatt.
He's definitely cute. He's a cutie. Okay, we have a lot to think about here. I want everybody, Damon. Let's do a poll. I don't know how to do that. Let's do a poll. More famous right now, Skattaboo, T-Mac. We'll put the poll in the chat. We'll get the results for better or worse.
Is that a fair poll, Damon?
It's not, but that's
What do you mean it's not? That's what we were just saying.
Prefer? What are you trying to get to the bottom of here?
Again, like I said, I think that this listener base tends to skew ASU, but I'm going to continue to fight the good fight.
No, these
Former
are
GM Saul Bookman's going to continue to fight the good fight.
Well, this is not. Come on now. We got everybody here. Yeah, I just. It's not. This is not the argument. We know who's better unequivocally. We got Fran Duffy on the show breaking my heart saying he's not going to go on day 2. Fran Duffy's like, yeah, early day 3 probably. And then
it's not. Saul, it's not who's better. We know who's better. We know who's a better prospect. It's T-Mac, but that's not the debate. It's not the debate.
Tony.
Who's more popular?
How about that? He's a scat
Who's
man.
more discussed? He's a scat man. There he is. We'll get to, of course, the results of this poll, and then also get into what was the Cardinals out of the cornerback today.
Not good. That's coming up. It's PHNX Cardinals. See if Damon might quit here before the end.
Yeah. Look, here's something that is good for you. How about a healthy lifestyle? One where you've got a healthier way to relieve aches and pains and getting a better night's sleep. Everybody wants some of that, but it's tough to find, right? And tough to dial in on a consistent basis. You got to try out Cornbread Hemp's USDA organic CBD gummies. That's right. Cornbread. Use the code PHNX right now, and you can get some free shipping and backs all its products with a 30-day better life guarantee. Right now, actually, if you get use the code PHNX, you'll get 30% off your first order. It's full spectrum, USDA certified organic and made from flour only. Never just like the whole plant. Third-party lab tested. And of course, that they're vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, no artificial flavors or preservatives. They're legit. If you want to give Cornbread a try, they're offering PHNX listeners, as I said, 30% off their first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX. Use that promo code PHNX at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX. Use the code PHNX for 30% off your first order. That's the good life.
We talked about prop bets ahead of the NFL draft. If you want to wet your whistle in the meantime, use our friends at Bet365. Never ordinary. This is one of the biggest betting weekends of the year. Don't miss out on the application that's got 90 million users worldwide, 780,000 events each year. They have pioneered live in-game betting. Friends, and again, get early payout offers right now with our friends at Bet365. Never ordinary. New customers get 150 in bonus bets when they place just a $5 bet. Win or lose, there's plenty of money at stake. And do yourself a favor. Download the app today. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. So if you want to bet, if it's available on TMac, being a good player, maybe use your bonus bets on that. Got to be 21 years and older, physically located in Arizona. If you were someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov, Bo, for more info.
Big news, just checked my Bet365 account, up 50 cents on the day. Big money.
Congrats.
Big money.
Things are going
I'm doing decent over here today. I really am.
Units? Will you allow the audience to know how many units you're up?
I need to calculate a little bit more. I'll get back to you.
Okay. It's a big number.
Wow.
It's a big number. K2, yes, family is divided a little bit. But look, everybody likes, you need a little debate sometimes. You
feel a little too chummy around here. We got the poll. We're going to get the poll going here. Who's more famous, T-Mac or Cam Scattaboo? Saul Bookman saying, I heard a disturbance in the forest. First of all, tremendous reference. And knew my boy T-Mac was getting dragged. No one is dragging T-Mac. That being said, would you be more excited, Bo? Here, this will help you, Damon. Would you be more excited if T-Mac was an Arizona Cardinal or Cam Scattaboo was an Arizona Cardinal? Knowing where both of them are supposed to be selected. How about that?
See, and this is where you lose me, because even as a Cardinals guy, I would say I think Skatt makes more sense, just because the Cardinals using resources on a first-round wide receiver doesn't make any sense to me.
That's right.
I see. I'm a reasoned person with reasoned takes. No one wants to give me any credit for it, but I can be reasonable here.
Never any credit.
That's a tough one for me.
Bo. See, and here's the tough spot that Damon is in.
I know.
It's like, Damon, I want to side with you 9 times out of 10 against Bo. Can't do that here.
I know.
Additionally, Bo does not want to side on the side of Cam Scattaboo. He has to do here. So that you should see that and think to yourself, wow, maybe he is being rational in this.
I don't think there's any, like, if you added TMac to this offense, I mean, you've already got a solid run game with James Conner and Trey Benson. Like, I think McMillan gives you more upside.
Wow.
Look at Bo.
Who can be honest? Who can?
I appreciate it.
Yeah, who can look at themselves in the mirror and say,
Damon,
you
let
were
me ask
honest today.
Who's selling more jerseys before the week 1?
Yeah, that's a.
I think it depends on where. Well, I don't know, because if T-Mac's like a Patriot and Scattaboo's like
no. If both players are drafted by the Arizona Cardinals, who's selling more jerseys?
Yeah, because more Cardinals fans like Skattaboo.
I don't know if that's fair.
I don't think that there's a way bigger ASU to Cardinals contingency than there is a U of A to Cardinals contingency of fan bases.
Well, and I also think like the fact that MHJ jerseys just became available, that would split T-Mac's ability to sell more jerseys if he was a Cardinal.
A lot of excuse making here on the show. A lot of excuse making. Are the Cardinals making excuse with their cornerback room? We had teased it for 2 weeks. They're going to sign a veteran corner. Aaron Wilson dropping this little nugget earlier today. The Arizona Cardinals, not Jalen Johnson. Okay. Everybody got excited for a second.
Right.
Jalen Jones is now the newest member of the Cardinals DB room, former undrafted free agent. Didn't play a lot last year. Are we chalking this up, Bo, to a mere camp body for the Cardinals?
Yeah, I think that's the play. Or, a guy whose upside is playing on fourth down, is playing on special teams. I mean, that's primarily what Jalen Jones has done his entire career. Guy that, as Aaron Nelson pointed out, same high school as Kyler Murray. There's another Jalen Jones who's a better corner for the Colts. So he's not even the best Jalen Jones in the league, who's not even like that good anyway. So, yeah, this is a guy I think they're bringing in for depth. So I'm curious to see, like, did they feel like they missed the boat as far as getting a veteran corner? Like, they were in on a guy that left Baltimore for the Jets.
Yep.
They checked in on Asante Samuel Jr. and maybe the medicals aren't where they wanted to be or where his number is or in his camp. But they just added a player, and I wouldn't read too much into it as far as, is he going to be the guy that's going to push Sean Murphy Bunting, for his starting role? Like, I don't think this is the guy.
No, and I think they're still going to add another player. Yeah. I don't have that for certain. And the Cardinals don't want to take a corner high in the draft. They want to lean into the strength of the draft. They need a veteran corner. This is a camp body in the same sense. Like, they've signed 2 ex-Chicago Bears that potentially both are not going to make this team. The backup guard / center, and then now Jalen Jones. So I think we've all been jonesing for a veteran corner, and then one comes across our desk, and it's like, who is this? What is he? Where is he from? This is just I would read this as feeling it out in the short term. Maybe they liked him for the last couple of years. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised. Osfor probably liked him coming out of college. So they need a veteran who can start games. This is not that. So I know people were freaking out on the Twitter streets, rightfully so. Like, this can't be the name that you were teasing. It is not. So I would still expect at any moment they could sign a notable starting cornerback. Listen, that market is not moving for whatever reason. Those guys are overvalued by their agents or injuries with Asante Samuel. You got Tevin Jenkins finally signed his contract. But these cornerbacks, I think they feel pretty good about, we can get one as things approach for the draft. Because I'm going to tell you right now, we get closer to the draft, teams stop picking up the phone for agents because they're focused on that. And then they can circle back after the draft. But those are going to be flyer 1-year deals. So, I mean, Asante Samuel at this point, he just has to speak to either how much is he asking, or is he just not physically up to snuff right now?
Yeah, this isn't like Akeem Davis Gaither where he played teams and he emerged with an opportunity at the end of last season and projects to be a starting linebacker for this team. Like, this is going to be, if he makes the squad, he's going to have a similar role that he had in his previous stops in the NFL, most recently with the Bears, where he was limited to 8 games last year with a shoulder injury. But just, he's a guy that plays on teams. Like, he hasn't played played 15% of the defensive snaps. I think he played 40% when he first came in the league, and like, good on him. He's a self-made dude, but He's just there's not a whole lot of upside. It's not, the heir apparent. Like, they've invested quite a bit in this secondary. A lot of top 100 picks, from Garrett Williams, their first draft, to two guys last year, Max Melton and Elijah Jones. I think that they would much rather, and then Starling Thomas also, they much rather give those guys opportunities and not block the way with just somebody that they liked in the second phase of free agency or third. I don't know where we truly are. It's just like, it's the gray area of free agency.
It is. Speaking of that, Cardinals tied to a veteran wide receiver outside of just the cornerback market. Will they add him or another receiver of note before the draft? That's coming up. It's PHNX Cardinals. Fired up for all things Gila River Resorts and Casinos, Wild Horse Pass in particular. We got some stuff cooking for this offseason. We can't wait to share with you. Bo and I hoping to do some live hits from our friends at Wild Horse Pass this summer, having some fun, maybe bring the family out. And again, if you're thinking about a place, a staycation here, I know spring break's coming and going for a lot of folks here, Chandler, Gilbert, Phoenix, what have you. Perfect place. Night out, night on the town, right? They've got a tremendous steakhouse. They've got a rooftop bar. Their pool scene is second to none. And if you're feeling like you want to visit Arizona's largest sportsbook casino, I wouldn't deter you otherwise. It is fantastic. I'm jonesing for a trip out to Gila. I miss Gila. Side of our watch parties this past year. Again, check them out now. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. The fun has just begun with PHNX Sports in Gila.
It's the perfect headquarters for March Madness. I mean, you go there, hit the tables, check out all the screens they have with all the games on there, and hit the sports book. No doubt about it. I was hanging outside the last couple of days, and sun was bearing down on me already. It's mid-March, the sun is out, and you need an all-pro Shade Concepts custom fit awning. You got to check this out. I saw him driving around my area. I want to just wave him down and say, hey, let's just, my house is just down the street. Let's just get something going here. Give him a call though. They've got over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google. They've been in business for over 20 years in the Valley, and they know exactly what they're doing. Hundreds of designs and colors to choose from, match any home, and they're going to deal with that pesky HOA. They're always an issue, right? But they're going to get those approval. They've got the magic touch. They can open up they got the skeleton key to those HOAs. Motorized, retract, remote control, LED lighting. It's unbelievable what they're doing with awnings. They're really taking it to the next level. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Give them a call, 623-204-1476. That's 623-204-1476. And visit allproshadeconcepts.com and schedule your free estimate.
Drop a like on this video. We got almost 800 people watching live. We appreciate all of you taking your time out of your day, maybe taking time away from your tourney time, your bracket, to chop it up with your friends at PHNX Cardinals. Cardinals figure to get friendly with a veteran wide receiver of note this offseason. We have yet to see them go external. Everybody from last year's receiving core is back. Yeah. They tendered Greg Dortch, who is not signed yet. We expect him to. And then, of course, Zay Jones coming back on a deal up to $4 million for 1 year. But ESPN had another recommendation, Bo Brock.
This was actually NFL.com. This was on the heels of the ESPN rec. It's the same one, right? As the Cardinals are the most running backy team on offense that you can find in the NFL. They've got basically a carbon copy from year 1 to year 2, or 24 to 25. Matt Bowen, I believe, of ESPN.com recommended Amari Cooper, and that's what I think is his name, Nick Shook, writer for NFL.com, is recommending for the Cardinals as well. Amari Cooper is going to be 31 in June. He wants him to join the Cardinals. He's calling it it's a gift. He's a difficult player to place with the team because he's reached an unenviable territory. He's a veteran receiver who likes playing for a contender, but might not fit with all of them. And he looked into a couple of different teams, and this is just Shook's words, not mine, Seattle, Cleveland, Vegas. But he said the best fit is the Arizona Cardinals because of Kyler Murray, and he becomes a trusted, experienced target that Murray needs on third down, and might even be able to help Marvin Harrison Jr., Johnny, according to Shook,
get
his trajectory back on track, too.
It's one of the dumbest sentences I've ever heard. You think a 31-year-old Amari Cooper is going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. to that next level? Congrats. You played yourself. That is horrendous. If you want to sign Amari Cooper to come in and be depth and be a primary slot receiver, go ahead and do so. But Bose, you've pointed out time and time again, his numbers were on par with Michael Wilson, who is doing this in his mid-20s to a guy over 30 who, I mean, if the Buffalo Bills, who are needing receivers, are like, go away, we're going to roll with what we have after trading for him, probably not a good sign. Probably not a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, people fall in love with the brand name, right? Amari Cooper had some really solid years, and he did it, working along with Drew Petzing, who's quarterback's coach in Cleveland, probably for his most successful season. But you're right. I mean, these are eerily similar to Michael Wilson. Let's take a look at those numbers. Coop and Wilson. Now, Michael's going to be 25. Well, Cooper's going to be 31. Wilson played in 2 more games than Cooper, but Wilson had 47 catches to Cooper's 44. He had 1 more yard, 548 to 547, and they both had 4 touchdowns. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, I think you bet on youth here. Where does Amari Cooper fit in then offensively if you're going to bring him in for fit? I don't know where he fits. He's only a guy that plays, under 20% and runs his routes in the slot, not a slot option. Would he be an upgrade to Zay Jones? Absolutely. But is Amari Cooper, as they outlined in that article, is he going to want to come and play like 4th or 5th fiddle in the Cardinals offense? I don't think anybody's going to be that's not going to be appealing to anybody.
Again, I just keep going back to I understand the move from a depth perspective. If Marv, God forbid, went down or Michael Wilson, you would need somebody else. I want the targets that we just listed, Trey, Marvin, Michael, to get the bulk share of the load, right? I don't want designated targets for a 31-year-old Amari Cooper. I've seen the Cardinals try to do this old and slow with A.J. Green and D-Hop at the end of his career, a fragile Hollywood Brown physically. I don't want to do that. Right? Say what you want about the Cardinals receiving core last year. I mean, for the most part, dependable guys that a lot of us felt like should have gotten more opportunities. We're not complaining, at least I'm not complaining about the targets and the personnel themselves, more so the scheme, right? And then Kyler Murray's got to play better. I just think it would throw a wrench. I would rather you want to take a receiver on day 3, developmental guy, no problem. But I would rather sit here and say, if we're going down with the ship here, hook or by crook, Kyler Murray. It's get him back with the same guys from last year. You got the same backs, tight ends, and receivers. Offensive lines, for the most part, the same. And you're preaching continuity. Do it. Then do it with this group. Because if you can't do it with this group against the NFC South and the AFC South, then let's have a big boy and girl conversation next January.
Yeah, I always, you can lose me with some of this stuff. Veterans need to come in and teach young players in this league the way that's there's people put too much stock into that. It's Marvin Harrison Jr., who's been around this league all of his life. His dad has a bust in Canton, one of the greatest receivers of all time, and you're going to bring in a 31-year-old Amari Cooper and he's going to teach him something he doesn't know. I think that's stupid. That's just downright stupid. And he might be able to teach Marv something. It's come on, man. What's Amari Cooper know that Marvin Harrison Sr. doesn't know? Or Reggie Wayne, who's basically his uncle?
So legitimately some of the dumbest things ever said on paper. We see a lot of dumb stuff from the worldwide leader and some NFL.com's power rankings lately. Because Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't have the Jamar Chase rookie year, he's got to be fixed by Amari Cooper, a washed Amari Cooper. The Cardinals, the offense, the infrastructure is there for better or worse. Petsy and Kyler Murray got to get it together. Any team right now, save for about 3 to 4, would take the duo of MHJ and Trey McBride. I'm convinced of that. Save for Cincinnati and Jay Jetta and company in Minnesota. If you coupled the combination, not Marv by itself, but the combination of maybe the best tight end in the NFL this year and a receiver who everybody assumes is going to take that next jump, and you got to add an old washed Amari Cooper, I'm good. I'm good on that.
I like this from G. Wilkers because I often think that this is just how the media thinks nationally, who are not close to it and following this team. G. Wilkers here. Can't find a fit for Coop, so I'm just going to toss him to the Arizona Cardinals, giving him extension, and it'll be perfect. It'll work out, right? Nobody's going to like make any noise about the Cardinals, but the Cardinals fan base, they're smart. They realize that it's just like that's trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
If you're watching with one of our many streaming partners, jump on over to gophnx.com so you can see the final results of our poll here. Scattaboo versus TMac.
Call the fight.
Before we get to that, we got a super chat here. Looks like X Chen 199. Jordan Tyson, Bo and Damon will have a better career than TMac. Damon, do you care to comment on that?
Thank you for the super chat, my guy. Much appreciated.
Wow, what a pro.
NFL teams disagree. We'll leave it at that. What do they know?
Jordan Tyson had a great season.
He did.
He's a great player.
It didn't scratch the surface as far as what McMillan did.
But just like Cam Scattaboo,
yeah,
Jordan Tyson, there are questions as to whether he can do it in the NFL. No one has ever had that question about TMac. Not one time.
I mean, TMac, it does feel like the league is maybe overthinking like how good is TMac. Like he's going to be a very good NFL player. I mean,
totally, Johnny. I did a quick like receivers, big bodied receivers that, compare somewhat to him. Mike Evans ran like a 4.55.
Yeah.
Fitzgerald's his idol, ran a 4.63. Drake London, who everyone loves as a comparison, he said he ran a 4.55 or a 4.5 flat. He didn't actually run one ever. And then T-Mac went out there and did run that. So I don't know. I don't think that I don't think it's that big of a deal.
No, T-Mac has mitts, man. He's not going to be the next.
And that's the Quentin Johnston thing. I've seen that before too. That's the single worst comparison I've ever seen for a prospect.
That's all T-Mac does.
Quentin Johnston catches everything with his body.
Yeah.
T-Mac catches everything with his hands. You couldn't find two more different receivers.
BE. Speaking of receivers, Xavier Weaver status. I would feel very good if I was Xavier Weaver because he got showcased in that finale. They tried to get him a tutty. I think he's got an opportunity to, I don't know if leapfrog anybody, but like he's making no money. He was selected by this organization as a primary free agent, priority free agent. Like he's got everything in front of him to make the roster again and see what happens.
I think that was almost a luxury for them to be able to carry him on the 53-man roster throughout the season and not have to thrust him really like nothing like high stakes.
Yeah.
Into an active game day. Like he was primarily inactive. And for them to kind of be able to give him a redshirt year after his last season at Colorado, I think it's not going to happen again. Like they're not going to do that a second time. That is going to be a fun thing to kind of watch how they're going to try to work him into the offense because I think he'll have a role. I think he's, whether it's in special teams, punt return, Dortch going in the final year potentially with this tender. Do they envision Weaver maybe as the heir apparent there, the successor to Dortch, to be able to play a couple different roles for this team?
Let's get to it. The results of the poll, impromptu poll on today's show. Damon?
161 votes, 76% Skatt, 24% TMac, which proves your point, Johnny, that nationally he is more famous because PHNX Cardinals listeners said Team Skatt is more famous. That is a good reference point.
Sarcasm there, and I don't like it. Again, if I was a fan of T-Mac, this would not bother me. I mean, like historically, in recent memory, Damon, who has produced better NFL talent, ASU or U of A?
What was the question?
In recent memory, who has produced better NFL talent?
ASU.
Okay, so again, they have been more relevant to the casual NFL draft landscape, right? And I don't think you can put enough emphasis on the fact that U of A was supposed to have this huge year after coming out of nowhere last year. Their program imploded with a high school head coach, respectfully, and then people are just like, oh, I can just not pay attention to them. And it's like, well, wait a minute, we have the best receiver in the country. That really did a disservice to T-Mac and his notoriety nationally. It's not going to impact his NFL career, assuming he doesn't go to the Jets or the Saints or whatever, but it did hurt him. Why are we talking about Will Howard? Because he was at Ohio State. He was atrocious at the combine. Why is he still being mocked, PFF mock draft simulator in the 4th or 5th round? Because of the school and the program he was associated with and the national stage he got to play on. He is not a better quarterback than most of these quarterbacks coming out.
Johnny's got a brand new mock draft, different than the one we did yesterday. Less elite. I thought yesterday, that'll be a tough one to beat, what we were able to accomplish yesterday. It was special. Vince McMahon saying special. That was special. But I like this one. I think that you did it. There's so many different ways, Johnny, that you can bolster this defensive line, and you accomplish that. You can find it written form, go phnx.com, or of course the vlog or the VOD here on PHNX Sports YouTube channel.
Yes, please go watch, comment, like the mock draft. I put a lot of time and effort into that, as did Bo with 1.0, and I had to take some arrows there on day 3. Speaking of taking arrows, Damon, do you care to comment that Skatt just has that aura compared to TMac?
I'm sure ASU fans do love Skatt more than TMac. That's awesome for them. I'm happy about it.
Oh, Damon.
They should. Skatt is maybe the greatest ASU player of all time.
Brandon Ormond thinks we should sign Amari Cooper. That would eliminate the need for wide receiver in the draft, and they could focus on the offensive line and linebacker. I'm assuming he's thinking like day 2, day 3. I still don't think they like their playmakers. And I don't know if there is going to be a temptation for Monty Ossenfort to utilize a premium pick on a wide receiver.
I've seen enough from Drew Petzing to know it's not the personnel, it's the scheme, and then Kyler Murray's got to play better. Yeah. I would rather, if you add Amari Cooper and I get the same shtick from this offense again, and we're doing this beep in the second half and the numbers are going down, I would rather be able to go to my head coach and the best coordinator on staff and say, save the season, get us to the playoffs, play elite defense with Michael Williams, 16th overall, or go back-to-back defensive linemen, 1647. Lean into the strength of your coaching staff. I know Drew Petzing got a head coaching interview. If the offense implodes and we're sitting here and it's like K1's got to go or Drew Petzing's got to go, I want to be able to say, well, we can still pull a Seattle and win 10 games because our defensive head coach is going to make it happen.
Craig asking, the Amari Petzing connection is does Amari have the experience with Petzing from the Browns? Was that too long ago? Absolutely has the experience with it. But if Drew Petzing can't coach, teach what Amari Cooper can verbalize or show on the practice field, if he can't convey that to Marvin Harrison Jr. and it not click, there's a bigger issue. You don't need to be able to go sign somebody and bring him in and him completely walk it out and show him. Then we've got bigger issues than that.
That's what Cliff and Vance Joseph had to do. They had to go out and get J.J. Watt and these players to come in and be a coach on the team. Drew Petzing's coordinated 34 games for the Arizona Cardinals. He's got 2 100 wide receiver performances, both for Marv, in 34 games. And we go like Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay or Mike McDaniel could manufacture consistent 100-yard receiving games for any of the Cardinals playmakers. We got a problem with the continuity and their communication with Petzing and Kyler Murray and how they're going to do business. They got to fix that. That can only be fixed this offseason. 34 games, we got 2 100-yard receivers, not minus, Trey McBride. I'm talking about wide receiving performances. Nuts.
Crazy stat for sure. If you like what you saw, you like the little debate, of course, make sure you're subscribed here to PHNX Sports.
Apologies to everyone at home.
No, never apologize. We're not.
I want more of this.
I'm a principled man. I have my feelings, I have my emotions and my takes, and I wear them on my sleeve and I go to war for them.
Yeah. That's why you're the right man to lead the U of A Wildcats podcast. I'm going to tell you right now, everybody go subscribe to it.
Yeah. God gives his strongest warriors the toughest battles.
Don't try to quote Thanos. You're blowing the quote. Don't. You've already ruined it.
Was that a Thanos line?
It's just the hardest decisions require the strongest wills.
Oh, That
When he
wasn't
had
what
to-
I was going
when
for.
he had to
It's
snap
a
away.
different one. Not everything's the MCU.
Yes,
or
everything
the
is
Star
either
Wars universe.
everything is either Star Wars, Ninja Turtles, or comics. That's it.
You make me sick sometimes. Great show. Thank you. Close to 1,000 people watching on this sleepy little Thursday in the Cardinals community, but you guys make it the best. If you haven't done so already, become a diehard today. Get all the access, including Johnny's latest mock draft. Go PHNX.com. You get also the access to exclusive member Discord. I'm not an undercover Marvel fan. I'm out in the open. I'll watch Marvel. It just hasn't been good lately.
Sure.
Yes, Brian's right. Don't apologize, Damon. We like the take. It's okay. It's just wrong. Guys, have a great rest of your Thursday, barring any breaking news. We'll talk to you on Friday right here on PHNX Cardinals.
We all silly like the mayor.